Why have we come to earth? Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Good job, thank you. It's been a year and a half since I've talked. Isn't that amazing? Because when Reverend David came, he was so impressive. I said, I don't care if I ever talk again. He said, really? And then he called me yesterday, he was sick. He said, can you talk tomorrow? I went, I have a house full of people that were there till 8 o'clock last night. And I'm like, yes, I can do this. So I got up. I got up very early. So this is a real fresh talk, okay? And Judy, thank you. Both Charlie and I are like, which way is up this morning? Well, anyway, in 1947, Dr. Raymond Charles Barker gave a series of lectures on the power of decision. And people liked them so much, he put them in a book, and it's called The Power of Decision. It's in the bookstore on the counter. This is a classic. It belongs in everyone's library. And I'll tell you why. Dr. Barker was one of Ernest Holmes' original ministers, and he was in New York City. And in New York City, they can be a little bit in your face at times. So here's the opening sentence in his book. The individual's ability to act unintelligently in a universe of intelligence is amazing. Let me read that again. The individual's ability to act unintelligently in a universe of intelligence is amazing. So that's how he starts out, and it goes from there, you can tell. But his perspective is that infinite intelligence created everything intelligently. And so you are inherently intelligent. It's infinite intelligence created by infinite mind with a purpose of expressing itself intelligently. So why would we think we're anything less? It's the question of the day. So if we're so intelligent, why do we have problems? Well, he has the answer. Worry. If you've ever worried about anything. Worry is very unintelligent. So think of that when you start worrying. Barker says it's very unintelligent. It's the birthplace of problems. And here we teach that where our energy goes, what we're focused on, we create more of. So why would we create more worry if we're so intelligent? It's because it takes a lot of practice, a lot of practice. Worry is that gestation period where we worry and things seem to get worse and things seem to get worse, and it's really hard to shift that consciousness to thoughts of saying, yes, things can be better, things will be better, things are better. As one saying goes, argue for your problems and they're all yours. Argue for your insecurities and they're all yours. Because what we focus on, we are like a magnet and we draw more to it. So what would happen if we took all that energy that we use worrying and we put it to something positive? Think it could change the world. It could. It changes our own world. So look at yourself in the mirror when you go home, or maybe tomorrow morning when you get up, and say, I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. And when your mind says, yeah, but when you were 16, you did this stupid thing, you thought it was intelligent, but in hindsight, it looks pretty stupid. It's irrelevant. Irrelevant. I had to write that on the chalkboard in class the other day. It's irrelevant, because you're never going to live that day over. All you have is today. So whenever we go to the past to solve today's problems, like the quote was, we're going to make some errors, because today is a new day for you. Every day is a new day. Barker says to judge yourself by what you have done is wrong. Judge yourself by what you will do, even if that's 2 o'clock this afternoon. Because you are not the past is gone. You are the present becoming the future. You're the present becoming the future, because the energy of your mind gets intently focused on something, and it's like a magnet, draws things to us, and so we are creating our future today, 11 o'clock today, I'll be darned. It's very powerful to know that, because we can't go beyond our self-accepted picture of ourselves, what we have accepted about ourselves. It's hard to go beyond that. So we have to think bigger than that, because we're not static. We say, yeah, I remember when I was 21 and had that great body, but I didn't have this mind, and I didn't have this knowledge. So I'm just accepting my body the way it is. Hallelujah. You know, the greatest minds of all times know that the universe is undisturbed by our stupidity. The universe is undisturbed. The earth keeps going round and round and round. Do you know it's never in a hurry? It doesn't get upset with what we're doing and go faster or slower. It just goes round and round and round. It's law and order. That's all part of this. I think God really is waiting for us to come to our senses, and we're trying really hard in this philosophy. But every day I am grateful for being here. I'm grateful for this teaching. If I can walk the talk and put the principles into practice in my life, what better life could it be? And so I'm always reading books about metaphysics, about science. I love the Higgs boson. I love all that stuff. But I found a book about a week ago, and I just inhaled it. Do you ever have a book like that? You just can't put it down. You cannot put it down. It's called Creating a World That Works for All, and we're ordering some for the bookstore. It's by Sharif Abdullah. In our philosophy, in our home office, the leadership has declared next year's focus a world that works for everyone. Now, you go on the minister's listserv and they go, isn't that a little bit arrogant? A world that works for everyone? Who in the heck do you think we are? We're intelligent. But in this book, he tells us how. And it's not that we're all going to look alike, dress alike, eat alike, live in the same kind of house. It's not that at all. It's a consciousness, a consciousness. So in the preface of this book, here's what he writes. We are in the midst of unprecedented disharmony. And I don't think you would disagree with that. In this unprecedented level of disharmony, we have the opportunity that may not come again for another millennium to craft a society that actually reflects our values. We must choose a direction, a focus, and intention. In other words, we must make a decision. We must make a decision. And he says the past is our teacher, and it's proof that we have learned the lessons when the world actually becomes, when the horrors of the world, HORRORS, when the horrors of the world actually become unthinkable. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a world where beheadings were unthinkable? So let's learn from the past and let's put our consciousness to work on the future. And he said the key to this is oneness, knowing that we're linked to each other. Everyone is linked to each other, even though we're individuals. We're brothers and sisters to each other. And this inclusivity is the basis for a world that works for all, because how could you fight your brother or sister knowing that the energy you give out, you're going to get back? How could you be unkind to someone? How could you undermine someone in a world where inclusivity and oneness is the core belief? He writes that there's 3 main stories going on here, and I love the way he puts this. He says these stories shape the behavior of humanity. The first story is of what a group he calls the Keepers. They're the indigenous peoples of the earth. Now, they didn't always get along. You know, there's pretty horrible wars sometimes that you read about in these tribal times, but they worked with the ecology of the earth. So they were kind of the keepers. And then here came the breakers. I can think of the Industrial Revolution, where it was conquering the earth. We're going to conquer it. We're going to use it. We're going to just use all of this. And then it evolved into so many things that we could have and be and do that we finally started to feel separated. And you can tell by looking around on some of the TV shows or even downtown, somebody with blue hair because they want to be noticed and appreciated. We became separate, and that separateness is very damaging to the health of the environment, because then there's never enough. There's never enough for me. So then here comes this new group called the Menders. I like that word, the Menders, who live consciously. And it's really the basis of the science of mind philosophy. We become conscious of our awareness of oneness with everyone. And it's focused on a greater world than just our individual personalities. He calls the Menders a spiritual discipline because it includes the knowledge that anything I do to you, I do to myself, and I do to the earth. It's so grounded in science of mind. But it takes the power of decision to do that, the power of decision every day to do that. Our spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, his name is Dr. Ken Gordon, and he was here a couple years ago, a very charismatic, wonderful man. And he travels out of 365 days a year, he travels about 250 of those days. Luckily, he has an understanding wife who runs their church. But he travels all over, and his prime purpose is to meet leaders of other religions. And he sits down with them for days or hours, and he says, is there anything we can agree to in our belief system, in our value system? I don't care what your dogma is, I don't care what your practices are, but is there anything we can agree to? And he's making great headway. Just some of the things I've been reading about him are just phenomenal in what he's getting out of other people who thought they were separate from us. And at the Parliament of World Religions 2 weeks ago, he was a speaker. I wish I could have gone, but I heard it, a standing room only. And you know, our philosophy is called New Thought. And it's not New Age, it's New Thought. And it started in the late 1800s here in America with people like Ralph Waldo Emerson and other smart, very brilliant people who got together and came up with these new thoughts. Oh, it is all one. Oh, we are in relationship with one another. Oh, we do honor the earth. We honor our lives. And it became New Thought. And at the Parliament of World Religions, thanks to Dr. Ken and I know some others like Michael Beckwith, the Parliament agreed that New Thought is a religion, and it's part of the Parliament now. That is big, because for so many years we had an inferiority complex. New Thought, what's that? It must be crystals. No, it's far away from that. So in his book, Sharif writes that we are living at the dawn of a new era of human liberation. Liberation from foolish notions of how we thought the world worked. We thought the world worked by what can I get, what can I take, what can I be, the heck with you, to a world that is one, to an earth that supplies us, when treated with love and respect. You know, part of the thinking in the last 20 years has been to be against something. Are you against Monsanto? No. Are you against this or that? No. Are you against war? No. I'm for peace and health and beauty. I'm for the health of the earth. I'm for the peace of the earth. So much more powerful when we realize what we give out is what's coming back to us. What we are giving out is spreading. I know sometimes on social media it's pretty negative. And we had a new fellow here this morning at the 9 o'clock service, and he was hearing this message, and he told me afterwards, he said, I'm going to respond to every negative message with, I am peace, I am love. And he's only been here 3 weeks. I mean, isn't that just awesome? It's incredible. It really is. So we can transform even our own community with this philosophy. But Sharif says, if you take every self-help workshop in the world and you don't do anything for the greater community, you're missing half of the piece. It's informing ourselves and growing ourselves and doing our best to walk the talk, but then reaching out to others, like our HIV food bank baskets, people of progress, things that we can do to spread that. He says menders it's a spirit-driven model, and the goal is to awaken compassion. Awaken compassion. He said that'll be the root of all change. It's not an achievement, it's the root of change when we feel compassionate towards others. It's like what Emma says about seeing somebody on the street. We have a major homeless issue here in Redding, and you see all these homeless people and you think negatively about them, but if you have compassion, there's something inside that wants to help, like through People of Progress or some of the other charities around here. So it's not an achievement, it's really grace flowing in us when we feel that compassion to be of service in one way or another. Now, so this is going to take a long time, because it was a long time happening. And it may not happen, this Mender society, whatever it'll look like, may not happen for 1,000 years. And it's kind of disappointing, when you think of 1,000 years. But he said, think of it this way. If the history of the earth was 365 days, 24 hours a day, human beings have only been here the last 11 minutes. So it's taken a long time to get where we are, even though we've done a lot in the last 11 minutes. But it means that we can kickstart this. We can be a bridge to the Mender society and to society itself. We are catalysts for change. It's not all going to happen in our lifetime. So in 2016, the topics for our center and 100 other centers around the country is going to be a world that works for everyone. And they've all agreed to the same topic every Sunday. So think of the energy of that. It gives me chills to think that at least 100 centers in this country are going to be talking about the same thing. That energy is so powerful, it's palpable. So it's going to be shifting our attention. And so let's go back to what Raymond Charles Barker says. The solution is to shift our attention from being worried about a problem to being energy for a solution. We don't have to know what the solution is, but we have to know it's there. We have to trust it. Isn't that what you do in this philosophy? You have a problem at home and you go, okay, putting on my science of mind hat, I know there's a solution. We can do that with all things. To be for something and not against anything. So for yourself this week, I encourage you to take a current problem or something you're worrying about, or sometimes it's a child or a grandchild that we're worried about, and trust them. Trust the intelligence in them. Trust that totally. And not only will you feel better, they'll feel better too, because they won't have somebody who's around them full of anxiety and worry. That's how simple it can be. So if we're pure intelligence, always acting intelligently, we can declare our problems into nothingness. Boy, does that feel good. And even when they come back like a little muse and say, are you really done with that? I mean, don't you really just hate so-and-so or such and such? You say, no, I choose to feel intelligent, be intelligent, act intelligent. That is my story. And we give it the stories of the past. So let me close with a quote from Raymond Charles Barker. You are not just an observer of the universe, you are a vital participant in the universe. God did not make a mistake when God made you. Intelligence created you to live in these times because you are equipped to live in these times. Does that feel good or scary? I hope it feels good. And if it feels scary, go back to, I am pure intelligence. We're equipped to meet the challenges of these times. We are the right person in the right place wherever you are in life to create a world that works well for yourself. And as you do that, it will work for others in your environment. You know, we're all the result of our past decisions. I was thinking about this morning, you know, we make a lot of decisions every day, but we think of the ones we made 10, 20, 30 years ago. This is the result right now. Congratulations. You have become and continue to experience your present decisions. And Barker says, join me in deciding on the side of greatness. So join me in a spiritual mind treatment to remember who we are. I know this morning, once again, as I remind myself every day, that there is only one thing going on here, created by the infinite intelligence, whatever we call it. And that intelligence has brought together in this sanctuary this morning and all over the country like-minded people who know this. And by knowing this, we feel the compassion well up in our hearts to all those who don't recognize that. And today we send them love. We send them the love of the deepest connection to our soul, that we are all one. And as we enjoy our day today and all the days to come, we take part of that joy and spread it around, part of that love, and give it to those who may not feel as lucky, as happy, as joyful. So as catalysts for a new world of menders, we rejoice in this knowing. And I accept it for myself and you, if you choose, to be a mender in your family, in your neighborhood, in your school, in where you work, anywhere, to be the mender with love, with the power of decision as the greatest tool that you have. So I'm so grateful for this teaching. It gives me and you a basis for moving forward in new and exciting ways in our lives. And I know these words go into the law of mind. That is how God operates. And the law always says yes. So we release the worry, the doubt, the concern. We accept the blessings and the grace that are ours by divine right. And we know it to be so. And so it is.